Hello and welcome to Direct Initiative, the podcast where we talk about direct democracy and the importance of ballot measures. I'm Alex Kawa, and today we're going to once again be talking about Ohio Issue 1. So we talked about this a few weeks back, and for those of you who don't know, Issue 1 will be on the ballot in Ohio this August 8th to be exact. And what it would do is, if passed, it would raise the threshold to pass constitutional amendments at the ballot box from a simple majority to at least 60% of the vote. Now, full disclosure, in the last episode where we talked about this, I did say that it would only apply to citizen-initiated constitutional amendments and not legislatively passed ones. I was wrong, it applies to both. But that still doesn't change the fact that this is a blatant attempt at stifling the voices of the people, because there is likely to be a ballot measure on the ballot this November that would codify the right to abortion in the state's constitution, and supporters of this Issue 1 campaign have made that their reason for supporting Issue 1. And we don't have to speculate that. The Secretary of State even said it himself. But you don't even have to take his word for it, because today we're going to look at some ads from Protect Women Ohio, which is a pro-life group that has been fighting for Issue 1, and it's gotten to the point now where they're just doing blatant propaganda and talking about things that aren't even happening with regards to the abortion amendment. And I wanted to go over these because for as mind-numbingly stupid as these ads are, they can be useful for how to spot propaganda in certain ads. So that's what I'm going to be doing this for, and buckle up because these ads are god-awful. The first ad is called They're Coming for Your Parental Rights.
You've heard me say it many times about our children, but it's true. They're all our children. There's no such thing as someone else's child. No such thing as someone else's child. Our nation's children are all our children.
Okay, right off the bat, this is super misleading. So what they're trying to do, and this will become apparent as the ad goes along, is they're trying to say that, oh, the radical left are trying to remove parental consent rights for teen girls to have abortions, which is a stretch if I've ever heard one, but don't worry, we'll get to that. That's not what Biden's even talking about. He's talking about book bans, and this is even according to the far-right Washington Examiner. And yes, parental rights and education is another issue that the right has hyperfixated on lately as part of their parental rights obsession, which, if you want to learn more about that, Leisha Miller has a great video about that, which I'll put in the YouTube card if you're listening to this on YouTube. But anyway, let's carry on.
As President Biden argues government can play the role of parents, here in Ohio, the ACLU is trying to erase basic parental rights.
You as a parent have rights. I can't support something where I lose my parental rights.
They proposed a constitutional amendment that would abolish parental notification and consent requirements that protect minor girls from undergoing an abortion.
No, they wouldn't. Don't believe me? Well, let's read the text of the amendment and see if it says anything about parental consent. Be it resolved by the people of the state of Ohio that Article 1 of the Ohio Constitution is amended to add the following section. Article 1, Section 22. The right to reproductive freedom with protections for health and safety. Every individual has a right to make and carry out one's own reproductive decisions, including but not limited to decisions on contraception, fertility treatment, continuing one's own pregnancy, miscarriage care, and abortion. The state shall not, directly or indirectly, burden, penalize, prohibit, interfere with, or discriminate against either an individual's voluntary exercise of this right or a person or entity that assists an individual exercising this right, unless the state demonstrates that it is using the least restrictive means to advance the individual's health in accordance with widely accepted and evidence-based standards of care. However, abortion may be prohibited after fetal viability, but in no case may such an abortion be prohibited if, in the professional judgment of the pregnant patient's treating physician, it is necessary to protect the patient's life or health. As used in this section, fetal viability means the point in a pregnancy when, in the professional judgment of the pregnant patient's treating physician, the fetus has a significant likelihood of survival outside of the uterus with reasonable measures. This is determined on a case-by-case basis. State includes any governmental entity and any political subdivision. This section is self-executing. So, yeah, nowhere in any of that did I hear anything about parental consent laws being abolished. But believe me, we'll come back to those. I'm sure we will. But yeah, this is blatant fear-mongering and propaganda right here on the part of Protect Women Ohio. Oh, but it's about to get so much worse, you have no idea.
Or even sex change surgery without her parents' knowledge or involvement.
I'm sorry, what? What the hell do sex changes have to do with any of this? This is about abortion. Like, what the hell? Like, what? Yeah, I'm saying what a lot. That's because that's all I can say. Like, are they just saying words at this point and saying them in certain sequences that make it sound like they're saying coherent sentences? Because that's what it sounds like they're doing. This, like, I don't even need to debunk this. Like, this is just horrible. But this is not the last time they bring it up, so I will be saying more. Don't worry.
Do not tell me that he is not my child. Do not tell me it takes a village to raise my child.
It's anti-parent because it removes consent. And I can tell you, as a new mother, I will never allow intruders to lay a hand on my child without consent.
They're coming for your parental rights. No, this amendment has nothing to do with parental rights. I get it. This is all you can focus on because you have your little buzzwords that scare people into supporting your dangerous agenda, but could you at least try to use logic for like 5 seconds, please? Oh, who am I kidding? Of course not. That goes against everything they stand for. All right, next up we're going to do is one called CAUT.
CAUT, the out-of-state groups fighting Issue 1, keep saying it's just about abortion.
Oh, that's incredibly rich coming from you to complain about out-of-state influences. But don't worry, we'll get to that.
But it's not, and they know it. These special interest groups encourage minors to get sex change surgeries and want to trash parental consent.
Again, what the hell does that have to do with this abortion amendment? Literally nothing. Does not have anything to do with it. You are just saying words at this point. You're just saying this stuff to get far-right voters to the polls because you know they go gaga for this kind of fear-mongering. And furthermore, if you're really concerned about parental rights, you know, minors can't get gender-affirming care without consent from their parents and without thorough conversations from their doctors. So, you know, if you're really pro-parental rights, what's the real position for you to take here? But I don't even know why I'm humoring you, considering the fact that this has nothing to do with anything that is being discussed.
Urge says parental consent laws are unethical and need to be abolished.
Once again, where did you find the words parental consent mentioned anywhere in the text of this proposed amendment? But you know what? You want to talk about parental consent laws? Fine, let's do it. Quote, 61% of young women discuss the decision to have an abortion with at least one of their parents. The younger the teen, the more likely she was to have voluntarily discussed the abortion with her parent. In fact, 90% of minors under 15 involve a parent in their decision to have an abortion. And regarding the ones who don't, quote, the minority of teens who do not voluntarily consult a parent generally have a good reason not to. Many of them come from families where such an announcement would only exacerbate an already volatile or dysfunctional family situation. One study showed that 22% of teens who did not tell a parent about their abortion decision feared that, if they told their parents, they'd be kicked out of the house. More than 8% feared that they would be physically abused because their parents had beaten them before. Of those who did not tell a parent, 12% did not live with either parent, and 14% had parents who abused drugs or alcohol. So in conclusion, your obsession over parental consent laws is unfounded. And not only because the overwhelming majority of pregnant teens tell their parents about their abortion, but also because, once again, it's nowhere in the damn amendment.
The ACLU, they're against informing parents about their kids transitioning at school.
Wow, that's a double whammy right there. One, no, kids cannot transition in school. Where the hell do you even get that from? And two, you know why they don't inform them about it? Because maybe their parents are super bigoted. Maybe they'd kick them out of the house if they came out as trans. Did that not ever cross your mind as a potential idea?
It's obvious. The reason these groups are in Ohio is to encourage sex changes and cut parents out of life-changing decisions.
Once again, nowhere is that anywhere in the amendment.
Stand up for your rights as a parent. Stand up against wealthy, out-of-state special interest groups by voting yes on Issue 1 on August 8th.
Okay, if you really wanted to stand up to wealthy out-of-state special interest groups, you would vote against Issue 1, because like I said in the previous episode, one of the main backers of Issue 1 is an out-of-state billionaire named Richard Uihlein, who's from Illinois, not Ohio, Illinois, and he funded a last-minute ad blitz to get legislators to pass this out of the state legislature and get it onto the ballot. So, yeah, clean out your own house first if you're going to talk about out-of-state special interests. All right, the last one is called Your Promise.
You promised you'd keep the bad guys away. Protect her. Now's your chance.
Yes, now is your chance to protect your daughters from the bad guys who are trying to take away her right to her bodily autonomy.
Don't be fooled. You can keep this madness out of Ohio classrooms and protect your rights as a parent.
Okay, so this whole parental rights in education thing, this has been a trick that has worked for the Republicans before. For instance, they made it a big deal in the Virginia governor's race in 2021, and that resulted in the first Republican victory in over a decade in the state. And Ron DeSantis' Parental Rights in Education Act in Florida, also known as the Don't Say Gay bill, actually managed to get a majority of Democrats on its side for a time because of its framing. However, eventually he let himself go and started openly embracing the bigotry. But the problem with parental rights in education is, and there is no nice way to say this, some parents are just idiots. Some parents don't believe in evolution. Some parents believe that certain historical subjects are not to be taught in school. I mean, why should they have a right over what public schools teach? There's a reason that they don't. And that might sound harsh, but you have to accept that.
By voting yes on August 8th, keep your promise to her. Vote yes on August 8th.
All right, I'm done. I'm done wasting my time on this nonsense. That's what this is. These ads are just nonsense. They're lies, hypocrisy, propaganda, fear-mongering, just every negative thing under the sun. It's just horrible. And if there's any silver lining, it's that it doesn't look like Ohio voters are falling for this nonsense, because according to reports, voter turnout in the Columbus area, which is a blue pocket of an increasingly red Ohio, is largely surpassing expectations. Not only that, but a recent poll showed a strong majority of Ohio voters, well over 50%, almost 60% actually, opposed this amendment. And that is hopeful to see, because it shows that even in an increasingly red state like Ohio, people still have some sanity left, and they're not going to fall for the lies, hypocrisy, fear-mongering, whatever. Now, why am I playing these ads? Well, not just to make fun of them, although that is a big reason, but also to show this is one of the things to be careful about when advocating for direct democracy. Now, obviously, I wouldn't be doing this podcast if I didn't think direct democracy was a thing that should be advocated for. But as I mentioned in one of the first episodes, I think it was the third one, there is a lot of propaganda from people who try to talk people out of their desire for change. And this is a clear-cut example of that right here. And again, it's based on nothing. The majority of Ohioans support reproductive freedom, but this is a propaganda campaign to try and talk them out of their support for that by using nothing that is based in reality. So this is an important case study in why people need to be careful about the type of media they consume, because these ads don't always have their best intentions in mind. But I hope that most people would agree that's pretty obvious. But anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, I had a lot of fun doing this one. These ads were horrible, but they were fun to rip apart. But if you did enjoy it, then please leave a like if you're on YouTube, and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, then make sure you follow and leave a good review of the show. Thank you all so much for listening. I will see everybody soon. I'm Alex Kawa, and this is Direct Initiative.